The FBI director said it himself. Not a press release, not a statement drafted by communications staff and attributed to him in the third person. A direct, personal statement from Kash Patel, director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, released alongside the Department of Justice's April 23, 2020, sentencing announcement for a 25-year-old Army intelligence analyst from Wills Point, Texas. This sentencing is a stark warning to those who betray our country. You will pay a steep price for it. FBI directors do not personally comment on individual espionage sentences. There are too many cases, too many sentencings, too many plea agreements and convictions and prison terms handed down across the federal system's national security docket for the director to personally respond to each one. When the director makes a personal statement about an individual defendant, when the director's name appears in the sentencing announcement, attached to a direct quote addressed to the defendant and to the broader population of people who might consider doing what the defendant did, it means something specific. It means the case is a priority. It means the threat is being taken seriously at the highest level of federal law enforcement. And it means that what Korbein Schultz did between May 2022 and March 2024, the 92 sensitive documents, the $42,000 in payments, the F-22 manuals and the ICBM technical data, and the NATO deployment orders, was not treated as a routine espionage prosecution. On April 23, 2025, Korbein Schultz was sentenced to 84 months in federal prison, 7 years, for selling America's most sensitive military technical data to a person he knew was connected to Chinese intelligence in exchange for payments disguised as consulting fees from a fake geopolitical advisory firm. The People's Republic of China is relentless in its efforts to steal our national defense information, Patel continued, and service members are a prime target. Attorney General Pamela Bondi. This defendant swore an oath to defend the United States. Instead, he betrayed it for a payout and put America's military and service members at risk. Acting U.S. Attorney Robert E. McGuire. We will proudly stand in support of our men and women in uniform and work diligently to protect them from people like the defendant who would sell them out for a few bucks. Brig. General Cox. Protecting classified information is paramount to our national security, and this sentencing reflects the ramifications when there is a breach of that trust. The FBI Director, the Attorney General of the United States, the Acting U.S. Attorney, a Brigadier General of the United States Army. All four responding personally to the sentencing of a 25-year-old sergeant from Wills Point, Texas. This is the story of what those four responses tell you about what 92 classified documents transmitted to China actually cost, and why a few bucks is the most specific phrase any of them used. Let's go back to May 22 and build the full picture. Korbein Schultz had recently received his top-secret sensitive compartmented information clearance, TSSCI, the highest access level the American government grants. The clearance that opens the databases containing the most sensitive military technical information in the defense establishment. Shortly after that clearance was issued, someone found him on a freelance professional networking platform. The contact presented himself as a client of a geopolitical consulting firm in Hong Kong. He had questions about American military capabilities, particularly regarding Taiwan and the Russia-Ukraine conflict. He was willing to pay for expert analysis. The arrangement began as what Schultz could tell himself was legitimate consulting work. Then Conspirator A's requests evolved. The questions became more specific. The actual documents, not analysis, the source materials, were what he needed. CUI and better, Conspirator A told him. Controlled unclassified information and above. Higher classification, more restricted, more valuable. Schultz provided what was asked. He used his access to restricted U.S. government databases to download and transmit at least 92 sensitive military documents across 22 months. The F-22A Raptor Technical Manual, America's premier stealth fighter, never exported to any ally, never sold to any partner nation, transmitted to a Chinese intelligence contact for approximately $3,000. The ICBM systems documentation, intercontinental ballistic missiles, The nuclear delivery systems whose technical parameters are protected at the highest levels of American classification, at the intersection of nuclear strategy, operational security, and the most sensitive intelligence in the defense establishment. Transmitted. The HH-60W helicopter manual, the combat search and rescue platform that defines how the United States recovers downed aircrew from contested environments. Specifically, the pilots shot down in the scenarios that Chinese and Russian air defense planning centers on. Transmitted. His Army unit's NATO deployment order, the operational document describing where Schultz's unit was going and what it would do when it arrived in Eastern Europe. Prepared before those soldiers boarded planes for a theater of active conflict. The people in that unit did not know their intelligence analyst colleague was transmitting their operational plan to a Chinese intelligence contact while they were packing their gear. Transmitted. Lessons learned by the U.S. Army from the Russia-Ukraine conflict applicable to Taiwan's defense. The specific military assessments that translate active battlefield experience into planning frameworks, filtered through American military analysis, and applied to the scenario that Chinese military planning most urgently focuses on. Transmitted. $42,000 across 22 months for 92 documents. The price that the four officials at the sentencing collectively described as a payout, a few bucks, and financial compensation. What's your read when the F-22 manual and the ICBM documentation and the NATO deployment order are transmitted to a Chinese intelligence contact over 22 months for $42,000? Does the amount, less than the annual salary of the sergeant who transmitted them, tell you something specific about how Chinese intelligence values American military secrets relative to the risk it asks its sources to take? Or does it simply reflect what an inexperienced 25-year-old agreed to accept? Type A if the amount reflects Chinese intelligence's pricing strategy. Type B if it reflects Schultz's inexperience in valuing what he had. Drop it in the comments. The platform vulnerability. Conspirator A identified Schultz through a freelance professional networking site, a platform used by cleared government employees who supplement their incomes with consulting work, who market their professional backgrounds, and whose clearance levels are visible to anyone motivated to search for them. The specific trigger, Schultz's TSSCI clearance. When that clearance was granted, Conspirator A, or the Chinese intelligence collection apparatus behind Conspirator A, identified Schultz as a high-value acquisition target. His clearance level mapped directly to the specific materials Conspirator A needed. The relationship was initiated. The consulting payments began. The requests escalated. The National Counterintelligence and Security Center has specifically documented this pattern. The newly cleared professional with a visible online presence as a systematic collection target for Chinese intelligence. The guidance existed. The briefings had been given, and between May 2022 and March 2024, the pattern the guidance described was executed against Korbein Schultz. His arrest, March 2024, at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, the location where the unit whose NATO deployment order he had transmitted was based, the installation where the soldiers whose operational security he had compromised were preparing for or recovering from the deployment, the document described. Subscribe and hit the notification bell, because the INDOPACOM recruitment attempt, the specific escalation that moved this case from one Army analyst selling 92 documents to a Chinese intelligence network attempting to penetrate the United States Indo-Pacific Command, is the dimension of the case that the FBI director's personal statement was specifically designed to address. Conspirator A had identified a ceiling. A sergeant at Fort Campbell had valuable access. But what Conspirator A really needed was access to U.S. INDOPACOM, the command responsible for all American military operations across the Pacific Theater, the command that Chinese military planning centers on. Schultz agreed to try to recruit a friend, an Army intelligence analyst assigned to INDOPACOM. The specific method Conspirator A proposed, nice and slow fashion, patient relationship development, the same approach that had worked to cultivate Schultz himself, applied now to a potential source inside the most strategically important American military command from China's perspective. The outcome of the recruitment attempt is not in the public case record. Whether Schultz contacted his friend is not described. Whether the friend responded and how is not in any public filing. The friend's identity is not disclosed. What is in the public record? The agreement between Schultz and conspirator A to attempt the recruitment. The nice and slow fashion language. The identification of INDOPACOM as the next target. All of it documented. All of it in the evidence that produced the 84-month sentence. You've seen the full picture. Freelance platform contact after TSSCI clearance issued, 22 months, 92 classified documents, F-22 manual, ICBM documentation, NATO deployment order for his own unit soldiers, Taiwan lessons learned, $42,000, INDOPACOM recruitment discussed, arrested March 2024, 84 months sentenced April 2025, FBI Director Kash Patel's personal steep pricing statement. What single element of this case most defines the specific damage? Comment below. The 4 official responses at sentencing tell a specific story about the case's significance. The FBI director speaks when the case represents a pattern the Bureau is specifically focused on addressing. The Attorney General speaks when the defendant's conduct represents a direct threat to the specific people, service members, whose protection is a stated priority. The acting U.S. Attorney speaks to the community of soldiers whose operational security was at stake. A Brigadier General speaks when senior military leadership wants to be present at the moment of accountability. All 4, for 84 months, for 42,000, for 92 documents. The specific calibration of official response to sentence length is the specific signal that the case record sends about what those 92 documents represented. Not the money, not the individual defendant. The broader Chinese intelligence collection effort against American service members. The relentless effort that Patel specifically named. And the message that 84 months for one collection source sends to the operation behind it. Was this the deterrence message it was designed to be? FBI Director, AG, Brigadier General, all speaking at one 84-month sentencing to signal that the price for selling to China is real? Or does the conspirator A dimension, the fact that the Chinese intelligence officer who ran the operation is in Hong Kong and not in any federal custody, define a specific asymmetry in how the steep price is actually distributed between the source and the handler? Drop your verdict in the comments. One detail, the specific one the sentencing record contains that Patel's statement was designed to amplify. Service members are a prime target. Not government employees generally, not cleared civilians, service members. The specific category of cleared personnel that the PRC's intelligence collection effort has specifically prioritized. Because service members have technical access to operational military secrets, because they are often young and early in their clearance tenure, because their financial situations may make consulting payments attractive, and because the freelance platforms where they market their expertise have made identifying them systematic. Schultz was 25. He had just received TSSCI clearance. He found conspirator A through a freelance platform within months of that clearance being issued. The pattern the FBI director described as relentless had been executed against him in the most predictable possible way. The zagadka of this case is not the sentence. 84 months is the legal accounting. The zagadka is the pattern. How many other service members received the same freelance platform contact in the same period? How many said no? How many said yes and have not yet been identified? And what conspirator A's network collected from all of them combined? 84 months for Schultz. The pattern continues for conspirator A. Service members are a prime target is a statement about what already happened and a prediction about what is still happening. The steep price is paid in months. The collection operates in years. What stays with you? The FBI director's personal statement and what it signals about this threat's priority level, the 4 official responses to 84 months, the specific calibration of government response to sentence length, the INDOPACOM recruitment, nice and slow, and the outcome that isn't in the public record, or the F-22 manual for $3,000, and what that price says about the market for American military secrets. Let's discuss it below. One more number, The one that defines the full scope of the collection Conspirator A ran, and what the FBI director's statement was specifically designed to address. 92 documents from one source in 22 months from a sergeant at Fort Campbell. Conspirator A's operation produced 92 classified documents from a single source. The specific intelligence value of those documents, the F-22A manual, the ICBM technical data, the HH-60W manual, the NATO deployment order, the Taiwan lessons learned, is classified. The damage assessment that the Army and the intelligence community conducted after Schultz's arrest is not public. What the public record describes: 92 documents transmitted, 22 months of operation, $42,000 in payments, 1 arrest, 1 84-month sentence. What the public record does not describe: what Conspirator A did with those 92 documents between May 2022 and March 2024. What Chinese military planners analyzed in the F-22 technical manual. What nuclear strategy assessors noted in the ICBM documentation. What Pacific operational planners extracted from the Taiwan lessons learned. What, if anything, Russian military intelligence received through the China-Russia intelligence sharing relationship that was active throughout the same period. 84 months for Schultz, the classified damage assessment in a file that no public announcement opens. You will pay a steep price. The price is paid. The assessment of what the 92 documents cost remains classified. That is the specific relationship between the accountable and the knowable in this case. The sentencing is public. The damage is not. The FBI director's statement addresses the accountable dimension. The damage dimension is in the classified record that 84 months does not declassify. What stays with you? Share it in the comments. And if there's a case you want us to investigate next, the notification bell is the only way to be there when it drops.